Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on innovations in presenting evidence and gap maps, new functionalities in EPPIMapper. We will just wait 2 minutes to allow everyone to enter the webinar. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on innovations in presenting evidence and gap maps, new functionalities in EPPIMapper. Let me introduce you to Jeff Brunton. Jeff, over to you.
Oh, so hey, pardon?
Over to you.
Yeah. Okay, over to me. Okay, sounds good. Good morning, or actually afternoon and evening, depending on where people are. I'm just going to put some slide up here. 1 second. Just 1 second. Okay. So this morning, or this actually, I'm sorry, I keep saying this morning. It's 6 in the morning my time. So we're talking about the things on gap mapping and some of the new functionalities that we've been adding to the mapping utility. And we're going to have a talk about that. Just to introduce ourselves, my name's Jeff Brunton. I've been working with the EPPI Centre since about 2004, and that's where I've done lots of work with them in the systematic review area in doing things with the EPPI Reviewer software. And one of the things that I do at the moment is I manage sort of the development of the mapping utility that we're going to be looking at today. And I'm also doing this presentation with my colleague, Melissa Bond, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name's Melissa and I'm a fairly recent addition to the EPPI Reviewer team. I joined UCL in February, just before lockdown. Mostly my role revolves around support requests that come through in our email, but I also provide some assistance with coding structures within EPPI Reviewer and mapping development as well.
All right, so what we're going to do in this session here today, what we're going to be looking at is a few things. First of all, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what the EPPIMapper utility is. We're going to look at some examples of maps that demonstrate the available functionalities, including a number of the newest release features, in which we just released those last week. Then Mel's going to take us through a session on how to generate a map with utility. Then I'm going to look at some of the future plans of what we have planned for the future and what we're going to be doing. And after that, be some questions, suggestions, feedback, because where the actual utility goes really depends on what people require. And that's why it's really important to get feedback from people. So what is the mapping utility? Basically it's a utility for generating evidence and gaps maps. Some people call it EPPIMapper as well. It's a name that seems to be evolving over time. But it's basically a utility that we generate for generating maps. It was developed by the EPPI Centre in partnership with the Campbell collaboration. The first version of the utility was created around early 2018, and that was actually for their version of the Mega Map that they created. And it's gone through a number of iterations since then. We, as I say, when we get suggestions from people or things they'd like to see functionalities added to it, we then add those to the program. And something I'm not going to go into any detail really today in this session, but basically it requires that the coding be done in EPPI Reviewer because that generates the data in a certain way, size or certain layout that the mapping utility can work with. So I'm assuming because the people at the session, they have a good idea what evidence and gap maps are, but I'll just go over that briefly just to cover that. I always think of them, they're just basically a visual representation of the evidence or lack of evidence in the domain. And often they consist of sort of a matrix of interventions in one axis and outcomes in the other axis. it isn't restricted to that sort of design, but that's quite a common layout for evidence or gap maps. And at the intersection point of each of those interventions and outcomes, there'll be a node. And in that, usually indicate the number of records, in most cases, a number of studies that are relevant to that particular intersection point. The number of records in each of those nodes, they might be broken down further into categories. They might be things such as, say, study type, or they might be quality assessments of those studies. And they're usually represented as bubbles in some way. So you'll see maps with the little bubbles in them. And then most maps will have some type of filtering mechanism for further breakdown of the coding that you're looking at. There are lots of different designs of evidence and gap maps. Most organizations that have them will have their own design, their own layout. These are a couple examples from 3IE up in the top right-hand side, and then from ODI in the bottom left-hand side. And it's just, as I say, you can see there's a similar idea. It's basically the interventions, outcomes, and the axes, and bubbles indicating at the intersection points the number of studies that might be existing there. Now the EPPIMapper, well, I'll call it EPPIMapper, generated maps. I'm just going to move my, hold on a second here. Oh, it's a utility to generate the map that we use. It was designed, as mentioned, designed in partnership with the Campbell collaboration. The approach that we took when we put this together is that we would make it very flexible into what sort of data you want to display. And we would give the user lots of options for changing the appearance of the map and how they would want it to look. And we also wanted the user to have full control of any sort of branding that was going on it. So you could put your own logos, you could put your own sort of titles, and do as much as you can to make it look like it's your project. Because that's sort of the approach we take for a lot of the stuff at the EPPI Centre, where we don't think we just want people to use the tools and make it work best for what they're doing. The way the utility works, it generates a standalone HTML file, which is your map. And because it's a standalone file, then you can email it or upload it to websites, and it can be, say, accessed by link. So it's very portable in that sense. Where can you find the EPPIMapper? Well, there's a link on here, but it's right now at the moment it's being hosted at actually a place in South Africa. It's a place called Digital Solutions Foundry, who have done a lot of the coding for the map itself. So I just wanted to mention Chris Penkin and Chad Lamb, who've done a lot of the work on it. So if they're listening in, just say hello to them. We're connected through them, actually through mutual work we've done in the past with the African Center for Evidence in Johannesburg. The very, very early version of the map was actually work we were doing with ACE at the time. And the latest version of the EPPIMapper is now version 2.0. And we'll explain how you can see that. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to go through some maps, and so you can see some of the examples of different functionalities that are available. So a good example of a map that uses much of the functionality is the Campbell Mega Map. So if people are following along and they would like to sort of experiment with it as I'm describing some of these functions, you can do that. If you just went to the Campbell website and in the menu at the top where it says research evidence, you'll see a link there to the Mega Map. And maybe what I'll do is I'll just show you how to do that, in case anyone's looking for that and wants to try that. If I just go to the, I just look at the Campbell. Actually, I probably have another link here. Campbell, you can see, if I go Campbell Gap Maps, I'll just go to the Campbell website. If I'm on the Campbell website, for those there, if I just go to research evidence, I can see there's a link then for the Mega Maps. I click on it, and it will then open up the map on the screen.
Just make sure you change your screen sharing.
Oh,
then,
yes,
Jeff.
sorry, yes. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mel. I always forget that, don't I? I'm just going to back to, is it? Yeah, okay. I'll go back, I'll just back that up again there. So that's the Mega Map coming from the Campbell website. So if anybody is following along, if they want to go to the Campbell website and just look for the Mega Map, they'll find that, and that will be on the screen there. So I'm going to go back to the slides. One second. Share screen. And hopefully you'll see the screen again. If you're looking at the map itself, what you'll see is, in this one, similar to what I described earlier, this one's set up with outcomes in the columns and interventions in the rows. Each of the rows and columns have sections and subsections. And then each node is broken down, and you can see in each node is broken down into quality ratings. We got, in this one, they're in sort of quality ratings as far as low confidence, medium, high confidence, and such. And if you're just hovering over those nodes, you'll see that little area pop up to look at. Other things to just point out the way it's laid out. Along the top, there's a menu across the top where there's things such as filters, hide filters, full screen. Then just below the menu area is a branding area, so where you can add logos in the sense this was work done with the UNICEF and Campbell, and there's a title area in there. Down at the bottom left, there's the little legend for what all those particular bubbles are. So it'll show the color, and then it'll say what they represent. As well, over on the bottom right-hand side, it'll say which version of the mapping utility was used to generate this map. So then it's easy to know if there's a newer version of the utility. It might be worth the person to generate an updated version of the map if they're looking for more functionality to be added to it. This is built with version 1.2. So we're on version 2.0. So they might want to consider maybe updating, just regenerating the map. Could be with the same data, but regenerating with the new utility to update it a bit. For the person using the map itself, they have quite a bit of control as how the map appears when they're using it. As far as the stylings of the bubbles, a person can actually change those on the fly as they want to try different areas. So in the filter section, when they click on that, a little area over, you can see on the right-hand side, it opens up, and where you can actually change the stylings. And there's 4 different stylings. There's a bubble map, a heat map, a mosaic, or a donut map. And depending which one you select, it will then generate. You can see on the left side here, the bubble map is the one that it's by default set up for. The heat map is set up as bars, and the width of the bar is related to the number of items. And if it's a large number of items, it gets dark. It's a darker, whereas there's fewer items, it becomes much lighter in color. The mosaic is basically like a number of little squares representing the number of items that are on it. And it adjusts, the number of squares are adjusted depending on the maximum number of studies that wouldn't be in any of the 1 squares. And then donut is another option as well. So you can change that. Maybe I'll just quickly show these as well, just as I go along here. So I'm going to stop share, go back to share screen, and this one. Not in the part. I want to share it. So what I was just describing there, I'm going to say, if I went into the filters, you can try that. Say if I want to change this to a donut map, say update. And it would come up with the difference. So if someone using the map, depending on how they want to see what they're looking at, this is a good way of approaching that. They can change the look of it. I'll go back to the slides quickly. Hopefully you can see the slides again. I'm going to mention a little bit about the colors of the map. Actually, when you set up the map, you have a lot of control over what the map looks like. And there are color pickers for all the different things. So for the row headers, the column headers, the individual bubbles themselves. So you can make this appear whatever you want. There are default colors that come up automatically, but you have full control of changing those. and they can be selected visually or entered manually in different ways. Basically, you can enter them what are called RGB, the red, green, blue numeric values. In a sense, for example, if you're green, you can say, oh yeah, green is 20, 255 or 00. There's hexadecimal value for that. But if you just go onto Google, you can easily find RGB values for any color you want. Now you can actually, what most people will do, they'll just visually pick the colors to where they like it. But what I would suggest, if you visually pick colors, just make a note of the value, because in the future, the reason you want to have a manual entry is that you can then have some consistency in the map's appearance and subsequent updates. So I think, so if you say, I want to generate a new version's map, in the future, I want to have the exact same colors I had before. That way you don't sort of have to be guessing too much about it. You know exactly what they were. So I just wanted to mention that. Mel will probably go in more detail of an example of using that when she goes through the section on generating map. The map also has filtering capabilities. So in a map, you probably will have different things such as maybe the study region. You've been coding for the study region, for the population, maybe for funding agencies, and that's what in this case it's there. So in the settings, in the filtering, there's the settings area. You can then go through and filter to see, and that will control what's being displayed on the map. So you could say, go in and select a few of the study regions, maybe a couple of population categories. And how it works as far as filtering on these, the default setting is that within sections, the individual items are ORed, and then across sections, it's ANDed. So if you selected maybe European, Central Asian, or Latin America and the Caribbean as a study region, then you want AND maybe things in population, say child or adolescent. Then, but you also have the options as well. If you want to say, actually, I just want to AND, I just want to select certain things and I want the ones that are that and that and that. Or you could just say or and then go across sections, and you can say East Asian Pacific or infants or mother's parents. And you can, so you have some control about how you would use the filtering mechanisms when you're actually on the trying to see what items to display on the map itself. When you actually click on a node on the map, what comes up are the studies that are in that particular section. And there's a number then functions that are available once you go into it. There's when you click on a node, so the codes for the selected node on the left can be they're displayed, and these are the rows and columns basically. And then you can see, oh, I came in here because I had mortality clicked and something else clicked, and it was the intersection of those. But then you can also play around and try these, and I'll just show this in a moment. In the middle area are all the studies that were related to what you selected and came in on. Where on the right-hand side is the actual study itself. So actually what I'll do is I'll just show you what that's about. I'll do this one here. Hopefully you can see that. So I was still on the bubble map, so I'll just stay on this. So if I click on, say, this was morbidity and early childhood health interventions. And what you'll see there is that there was 73 items that were in that particular, unique items that were in that intersection point. I can see the morbidities checked off there in early childhood interventions. What you'll see down here is the individual, the breakdown, the bubbles that, the colors that related to what was in that donut on the left side. You can see on the left. I can then group them by, right now they're alphabetically ordered, or I can actually also group them by segments as well. And then I can see, oh, those are all the red ones, those are all the green ones. And then over on the right-hand side, is that is the reference itself. Now you can also filter through. If I was looking for particular studies, and I'm looking for ones maybe by Blossom, I can see down there's one. I'm just picking one from random, Blossom. I can start typing BLOSS. Well, and there I see, and it just filters through and pulls that one up for you. And if you want, you can then search through for title, abstract, or author as well if you want to be more narrowed down in your searching. And that's a way of quickly finding studies that are listed in that certain area. And again, actually, while you're in here, you can also start playing around and say, actually, I want to see what was the one for disability and I can get different studies, and I can start clicking through those and changing what I'm viewing here. In a sense, it's like clicking different spots in the map. I'll go back to screen share back to the slides again. All right, there we are. The top menu is another thing I had mentioned that earlier. There's a number of different options along there. The filters, which gets you into that area where you can change the filters or change the styling of the map. The next one is the hide headers. What that does is just makes the browser fill your entire screen. The full screen, full screen makes the browser fill your entire screen, while hide headers hides the header area at the top, so it hides the title, the logo area. It just basically is a mechanism to give you more of the map on your screen. The About panel appears with information about the map. So when you're setting up the map, you can put all the information you want in there about what the map's about, any information, and Mal will show a bit about more of that when we get to that section. The Submit a Study, a lot of people, when they have these maps, people will use the maps and think, actually, I have studies I want to submit towards this map. The people set it in the map can put details or information in what the process would be if someone wants to submit a study for their map. So it's just another way to get information to a user about how they can contribute to the map. And the list studies, basically, it lists all the studies in the map, and they'll be listed in the document panel. So like where I clicked in a node earlier and you had the codes and the reference there, if you click on that list study, all the studies that are available for that map will be listed. Another thing we've added on recently was the ability to collapse sections, because in a sense, the Campbell map is quite large and it's quite wide and it has many sections, and it's hard. It would require a lot of scrolling. So what you can do now is we set up a mechanism where you can click in a section and it will collapse that section down, and it will then make it possible to focus in on particular areas of the map without having it to be too wide or too tall as well. And what happens when you can see in this section is open because you can see all the sections here. Whoops. You can see all the sections which are unhealthy impacts, but unhealthy development, you can see it's being collapsed. But what you'll see is the bubbles here are an aggregate of all the collapsing. So you can see unhealthy development across all those subsection healthy development against all the sections, in this case of early childhood, which has been collapsed as well. This would be aggregate totals of those. You can see, oh, this is what comes up in those. And then when you click through those studies will be then shown up in the records area. It's possible now as well to set up your map so it opens in a collapsed state by default. So if you have a very big map and you can open up and it'll just be in a collapsed state, you can see everything that's in it. Another map I was just going to show a little bit as well is one that we've been hosting on the EPPI Centre. It's a COVID-19 map that we've been adding to over since the spring. It's a little bit different sort of map. Rather than looking at interventions and outcomes, what it's looking at is searches based on versus topics, actually. So in this case here, we've been doing this since, I guess it's been about March, maybe. It's been going on. We've collected, this map has 30,000 studies in it. It's actually quite large. So in the top are the topics are in the columns. The search dates are in the rows, and then it actually is the way of finding all the topics that come through. And you can see the growth of studies related to COVID-19 over the last 6 months this way. I can actually just quickly show that as well, because that's an interesting one. I'm just going to, because I can show a little thing about a few functions that we've added that are special to this map. I just need to, I think it was in the PowerPoint. And I just need to find, yes, here we are. Hopefully you can see the COVID-19 map. Let's move that out of the way. So what are the things, actually something that's interesting about this map is that the terms across the top are actually mesh terms. So what functionality that we've added into this is that if you click in the term itself, what comes up will be a link button. Rather than going directly into the records itself initially, you can say the topic on this one was treatment evaluation. Now, if I click on the little link that says mesh, what it will do is open up. Now, can you see this next tab I'm in here? Hopefully. It opened it up and you can see the mesh term for evaluation study. Oops. Yeah, so it's what it does is you can click through into those individual terms. In this case, it was diagnosis in this one here. So if I click through to the mesh link, I can actually see the information that's related to diagnosis. So what you can do is you can actually add links into the terms themselves, and it will take you through to say external websites for more information about those particular terms. So that's something that we added into this, which was quite a useful addition, I think. I'm just going to go back to the slides again. And I think that's just about what I'm going to cover for now. Wait, sorry, instead of jumping around here. Come through, okay. And this is just describing about the links clicking through. Oh yeah, actually, and there's one other thing I think I was going to mention as well. Another function that's actually on that COVID map that's in the newest edition is that you can now download the listings references. So if you go you click on a node, and there's in this case 91 studies that are in there. This is an optional addition to the program where you can, if you want to add this, where you could click on the download listed references, and what it'll do, it'll create an RAS formatted file of all the references that are listed in this particular thing that you click through on. And then an RAS formatted file is a type of file that you can put into any reference management software such as EndNote. So you could go through and say you want people to have access to all these records and say, okay, all the ones that are that, they can download them through here and then put them into any sort of reference management software, EndNote as such. And Mel will probably talk a little about this shortly as well, too, about we now have much more functionality available for making your header areas and the appearance of the map is with a lot more it's much more customizable in a sense. So you can lay this to look out however you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand this over to Melissa now, and she's going to talk a little bit about creating maps itself. So I've showed some of the functionality, but there is a process that you need to go through to create this. So I can, I'll hand it over to Mel if that's okay.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I'll just share my screen. Okay, so I'm really lucky because I kind of get the fun part of being able to show you how to create a map. As you probably all know, that the first step is really to ensure that you have prepared your data in EPPIReviewer so that you can export the map in the format that EPPIMapper will be able to produce your map for you. Whilst we don't have a lot of time today to talk about EPPIReviewer functionality itself, we do want to mention that we do have plenty of instructional videos on our YouTube channel, and the link is on the screen. And of course, we have further details available on our website as well. I did just want to mention one of the key questions that we get asked in the support team about creating maps is how you get it so that you have these 3 levels displayed that you saw in all of the examples that Jeff showed so far. So I just wanted to point out to you how you would do that within EPPIReviewer. So in terms of rows and columns, you can have up to 3 levels within your data extraction coding tool in EPPIReviewer. So this is an example of the map, what the map would look like with these 3 levels, and then how it would look itself in EPPIReviewer. So here you can see this is level 1. So this is the top level here. And this would be a non-selectable code that you would have within EPPI-Reviewer. Then as a child code of that, as level 2, so this is the level here, the participant continent, is also a non-selectable code. And then the level 3 codes under that would be selectable within EPPI-Reviewer, so that you could then populate the data, populate the map itself. So that's how you get those 3 levels. We get that question quite a lot, so I just wanted to point that out. In terms of the filters that Jeff talked about earlier, it's also important to point out that these should be up to 2 levels rather than any further than that, because then all of the child codes won't show in the filters. So this is just an example of what the 2 levels would look like. So again, this is a non-selectable code, school type, and then these codes underneath are selectable within EPPI-Reviewer. Okay, so creating your map. So obviously you would head to the EPPIMapper website, and here's the link up here, where you would upload your JSON file. Now, before you got to this point though, you would have exported your JSON file from EPPI-Reviewer, and our very hot off the press, fresh video that we uploaded to YouTube not that long ago takes you through how to export the JSON file from EPPI-Reviewer, so you can have a look at that if you like at your leisure. So this is the link here. I'm going to actually take you through live through how to create a map. So I'm just going to change the screen that I'm sharing. And I'm going to share this one. So hopefully now you can see the EPPIMapper utility here. So we're going to upload our JSON file. And I've put that here. Okay, so here we are going to choose the attributes that will fill the columns, the rows, and whether or not you want a segmenting attribute. And I am skipping through because I will be going back and forth between the live screen and our slides. So for the columns, we want to have outcomes. Choose that one. Our rows are going to be filled in with the interventions. And here, the segmenting attribute, you can actually choose not to have anything segmenting your data. So an example of that would be here. In one I created earlier. This is actually an example of how you can choose to have your headings, your rows and your columns collapsible when your users first open the map. So everything's kind of scrunched together and you just see an overall aggregate number of how many records you have. So this is an example of a map that hasn't got any segmenting attributes in it. All it does is show you the aggregate number. So the overall number of records within that particular cross-section of data. So in this map, you can see in Europe, teacher digital competence, there were 12 records identified for that particular cross-section of data for that particular review. Okay, but in this case, we're going to choose quality of studies. Now, I'll just go back to the slides just to make sure I'm not forgetting anything. Okay. Yeah, so the drop-down menus, they're going to be automatically populated based on whatever data it was that you had in your JSON file, and that comes directly from the data that you have in EPPI-Reviewer. So step 3, this is where you start choosing your map appearance, how you want the map to appear. And this is, I know, something that one of our participants is very excited about, being able to choose how you want the map to appear when you first open it. So I'll just take you back to the live version. So here we've got default map view. So this is exactly how people are going to see it. Now for this particular data, I'm only being given 3 choices. So the donut map's not coming up, and that's obviously something to do with the way that whatever choices I've made so far.
I think it's because you haven't picked a segmenting attribute, because I think it's.
Oh, I thought I did. Hang on a second.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Let's just go back. Yeah, no, I've got quality of studies.
Oh, no, but I mean, okay, you haven't actually picked the individual.
Yes. All right. Well, I'll add my children then, so that's there. Let's see. Ah, beautiful. Okay, thank you for that. I was wondering. All right, so here you could choose how you want your map to appear, because I know some people have been dying to be able to choose a different map view. So we're really excited that we're able to do that now. Although personally, I do like the bubbles more than anything else. So I'm just going to leave it on bubbles, but you can choose if you want to have something different. This is where you would choose to have your map shown with the collapsed headers. So if you wanted it so that it does appear like so, like this, so it's all scrunched up and nothing is open, then you would have this little selection chosen. If you don't want it to appear like that when people first open it, then just make sure you don't select it. Here is where you get to have some fun with the colors in your map. I mean, I am partial to jade, but you might like something else. So let's go maybe something a little funky. Here we go. You can have two different colors if you want to, so let's be different. So this is the side header, and you can see a preview of how, whoa, that is bright, a preview of how your colors are going to appear down the bottom. So perhaps, yeah, perhaps we might go something a little less funky there. Yeah, that's nicer. Okay. And these two can be different in how they appear. But it's really great that you can see that live update of how the map is going to appear before you create it, so that you then don't have to keep going back and editing it after you've created your map. Then you get to choose your segments. Now I'm just going to undo the step I just did so that I can show you in a little bit slower. So then you get to choose which segments you want in your map to segment the data. So you are only able to choose up to 4. And you can do that manually if you want to. So you would click Add Segment, and then you would choose your drop-down menu. So if your code that you chose has more than 4 codes within it, 4 child codes within it, then you can only choose 4. If you like, you can choose to click on Add All Children, and EPPIMapper will populate it with the first 4 codes, I'm pretty sure, that come up in your coding structure. So once you've chosen which ones you have included as the segmenting options, you can then have even more fun with choosing what colors you want to populate the segments. I think I'll just change one, because I think that's a nicer complementing color. And then again, you see that live updated preview of your map. And just a reminder that you can always go back at any time and change some of the choices that you've made in the past. So I'll just flip back to my PowerPoint, make sure I haven't forgotten anything. Yep, we've got collapsible headers, colors for rows. We've chosen our bubble codes, so our segments. And I have mentioned you can have up to 4. All right, we've done our colors. Again, as Jeff mentioned earlier, great idea to take a note of that, that code for the colors that you've chosen, especially if you're working with standardized branding for your maps, so that then it'll just be even that little bit quicker next time you create your map. And also, if you want to update your map and have exactly the same colors, it's a good idea. All right, we have, before clicking continue, make sure you preview what the map is going to look like, and then move on. So the next step is putting in the information about your review. And this is where I think someone asked a question in the Q&A about whether or not you can put links or further information to contextualize the information that you have in your map. And this is probably where you would put that, is in the About section. So here you could do things like put links to your review protocol, for example, or if you've published an article featuring the data in the map, you could put links to that. But one of the brilliant things of this latest version is that we have some really powerful formatting tools to be able to format the information. So you can now, if you've, I know that Campbell's moving more towards diversification of getting information out there about maps. For example, creating little videos, creating infographics and things like that. You can now actually add that within this About section in EPPIMapper. So let's have a look. I grab the right screen. Okay, so we'll click continue. We're happy with our crazy colors. So here's the about section, about the map. And if you click on the A, this will give you formatting options like bold and underline. You can also change the color. I'm just going to put some random text in here just so that I can give you some idea of what you can do. You can change the size of your font. I don't know why I'd want to do that, but you could. I'll just make that. There we go. You could change which font family it belongs to. So if you've got a preference for a particular font, so I'm just plugging my computer in, then you can do so. And you can also superscript. And then you've got paragraphing. So if you want to center some information, and let's just check and see whether or not we can. Beautiful. So there you're able to select the text and you're able to then center justify or left justify the text so that you can have so much more control over how your information appears. This is where this more rich button here is actually where you've got more power to create how the information appears. So here you can insert links, insert images. This is where you would insert videos. And if you wanted to be able to really play around with how your information appears, then you could use a table to be able to do that. I haven't looked at the emoticons yet, but that's also, I mean, I'm curious. Some cute little emoticons that you can add there if you wanted to. And then I like the horizontal line just to split up some of the information that you've got there. So I think I'll move on, but yeah, you can see that there's lots of different things that you can add in that about section. Did you want to add anything, Jeff?
No, but basically it's with those editors now, you can basically make it look however you want. And you can copy. If you have an old map, actually, you don't have to recreate this each time. If you have an old map and you're updating it, you could just cut and paste. You just paste, cut and paste basically what you have in your old map and stick it into the editor here, and then you just go with it. You don't have to be sort of re-entering it every time that you want to, because it's just basically an HTML format that's in there. So just grab it and paste it in because you're in a browser.
And I guess then if you wanted to add some funkier formatting, then you could once you pasted it in. Yeah. So then we'll move on to the submitting study. So again, Jeff has already mentioned this. This is where you would put information on how people would contact you to submit a study. I mean, some examples I've seen just include email addresses or websites where people can do that. But again, you've got that same fantastic functionality in terms of being able to format that information. So I'll just put in something generic so that we can have it populating in the map when we produce it, and click on continue. So this is where Jeff mentioned that if you wanted to allow people to be able to download the RIS files, this is what you would have enabled. If you don't want people to do that, then just click that button. Otherwise, they will be able to.
Yeah, I just mentioned it for copyright issues. In a lot of scenarios, actually, won't be. There's probably fewer scenarios where you would allow it than allow it because due to copyright issues. But if they are abstracts and such that you're comfortable with people accessing, you can put it. But actually, I just mentioned down below because you can also show or not show abstracts. So if you're only worried about abstracts being in a copyright issue, you can leave them out and still have people download the studies themselves. So, because I saw a question came up there in the Q&A, I think about it, the legality of it. So,
interesting. Okay. Well, here we've got filter attributes. So this is where you would enable people to be able to filter the information in your map once you've got it produced. And Jeff showed you how to do that earlier. So what do we want to filter by?
I was going to say we got to keep it moving because I think we're actually
See, this is the problem. You've got me playing around with
yeah, I'm thinking because we'll start. We probably want to start questions and answers in about 5 minutes or so.
All right, I'll rush through this. Yeah. Okay, so this is my title. So again, you could brand this however you want to. There we go. That'll do. Okay, so here, if you want to be able to host your map online, then you would need to click this, and then it would need an internet connection to be able to work. Otherwise, you can just click on download. And then, hey presto, here it comes with our funky purple colors. And so this is how it looks, and that's as quick and easy as that can be. All right, so I'll just stop sharing that and just make sure I haven't missed anything before passing on. Oh, that talks about the table. Yeah, I didn't go through the exact...
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
There's lots of stuff you can. It's really actually. I think one of the on the last update we did, putting these editors in, especially in the tables now, creating these tables for your sort of header area of the map. You can do lots of interesting things now as far as laying it out, blocking it out. So you create basically tables. You can have different colored backgrounds in different areas. Someone actually just did a question. Can you spend a minute on logos? How to probably about how to insert a logo.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, I just saw that someone just asked. So I think what you could do on that is just actually describe it. And those little editors, they're one of the things where you can insert images. As long as you have an image, you can, on the branding there. So if you just go into there where the rich and insert image there, that will then allow you just find out wherever your logo, you click on it, it would go, to your computer to find wherever your logo is.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've got something ready. I'm not sure I've got something I can put in there.
That's all right. But basically, you just grab your logo and it'll stick it into the header area.
Yeah. Well, I won't. Yeah, you just click on there and pop it in. I don't have something ready, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and actually, I think on some of the those early maps I was showing, they had a few logos on it. Basically, they're just JPEG files or PNG files, and then you would just insert it however you like it to look. So
yeah. Okay, and download. Brilliant. Yeah. So that's how you do it. But please, I will just implore you before I pass over to Jeff. I have just uploaded a new video to YouTube, which goes through step by step how to do everything. I may also create a new one looking at specifically at the formatting of the branding. I didn't do that. I didn't focus much on that. So yeah, that might be forthcoming. But I'll stop sharing and let Jeff take over.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I'm just going to do about maybe 5-6 minutes or so, and then there'll be time for a few more questions. And so I see some questions coming by on the screen, and so I'll just go back to share my screen. I don't need that right there for right now. Close that. Okay. Yeah, just make this one full screen. Now, actually, something I'm going to mention is that. I got to go forward here, don't I? Yeah, so yes, there we are. After I'm just going to talk a little bit about the map file itself. The finished map file, it's an HTML formatted text file, so you can edit it in any text editor after it's been created. So once you have a map ready, and maybe you have it up on your website, and then you think, oh, actually, I've spelt this part wrong, or I've done something here wrong. Because it's actually just a text file, you could just open it with a text editor and go in and start changing, the text you see on the screen itself. So any static text you see on the map, it can be edited. So you just open up in the text editor, do a little search for that bit of text, go in and change it, save it, and that actually changes the map. You've done that. So in a sense, you could go through and start and almost everything in the file you can change, colors and such, because they're just set up as sort of RGB values. So you think, actually, I want to change this color to something other color. You can just open the map, edit it, change it. Things such as adding padding and such into the table cells. Maybe you have your header area and think, actually, I just want to take this whole text and I want to just shove it over a little bit this way. If you know a little bit about HTML, I mean, a little bit about, HTML, you can do so much with it. And actually, if you even know a little bit of JavaScript, which some of you probably do, you can actually go a little bit further with that. Or even if you don't, you know someone that does, you can go in and start changing how actually the file behaves. Because again, it's files. You can start to add functionality. If you want to start adding little drop downs and things like that into it, you can do that without having to regenerate the whole map. Many of the additions that we do in the map, most of them start out with someone suggesting to me saying, it'd be great if it did this or that. And I'll take a finished map and I'll start playing with it and saying, yeah, we could do it this way. And then in the next version of the map, those functionalities will be added to it. So if you know a little bit about editing text files, you can probably go quite far with playing around with it. Now, I'm just going to say a little bit about our future plans for the map. There's a few things that we are definitely going to be doing. One is to create living evidence gap maps. And in that, the data for the map would come directly from EPPI Viewer in real time rather than being a standalone file. So that would be an option as well. So any changes you make to your coding, say in your review, it will then reflect directly into the map itself. So if you think of the EPPI Viewer database over on the left-hand side is where the data is being stored. Down at the bottom is, say, EPPI Viewer, where someone's doing coding and changing and adding codes. And up the top is the map itself. So as you change things down here, you could have it so it'll reflect in the map. So once you have a map up on a website, you can be updating it basically live, as you say. I've coded 10 more items. Those 10 more items then will be reflected in the map. So that's something that we will definitely be working on maybe in the next version of the map or towards the next version of it. Another thing that I'd really like to see more in there is, which I'm going to start looking into, is adding more visualizations, because the map data normally contains a lot more information than what is being displayed within what's existing there right now. All those filtering categories could have their own visualizations. So the geographical regions, and we can put all sorts of information in. We can maybe have, bar charts, Venn diagrams. The possibilities are almost endless about the ways you could represent visualizations. And sort of following on from that, we want to create databases that span multiple evidence and gap maps. So if you have common coding across a number of different maps, you will be able to start cross-searching through the maps, and that would allow searching by sectors across maps. You could have drop-down menus where you specify the sector or the outcomes of the interventions to search, and it wouldn't just be searching within that map, it'd go across different maps. The data structures needed to do that in EPPI Viewer actually already exist. We just need to sort of add that element to the user interface. So that's something, again, we will be introducing. And the final thing I think it was introducing is into a web database application. This is something that we actually already have, where you, if many maps, they're maybe just a single part of a larger systematic review that's been going on, and a much broader question, which a lot more information is there. And you want people to be able to see all of that information, and the map is maybe just one element of it. So we would think about integrating the map into this larger web database application. And as I say, it already exists in EPPI Viewer, but in a more simplified form. And integrating the gap maps into it is, and a new version of it is actually, we're in the process. I've been working on that for the last month or so. So I think with time on here, we're probably just about the point where we want to move into some questions. I saw some, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
I've already answered a few in the Q&A, just as you were talking there. But,
okay. Oh, excellent. Okay. So does anybody else have any questions? I mean, you can, if you want to just put into the Q&A area, we can, what time is it here? We still got, we got 5 minutes or so.
We do.
So, yeah. So does anybody have anything they have any curious about? I'll just kind of I'll look through some of the answer ones, see if there's anything that we can also maybe add to them.
And I'm just going to share our final slide, just so
that... yeah, sorry, I missed that one. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Just so that people do have, there is that link there to the new instructional video that we uploaded this morning. If you have any questions or concerns while you're thinking about your questions that you might have to ask us now, please do contact us via email. We do also have a Twitter account, but that's not really for support. So if you've got a support related question, please use that email. Oh, thank you, Robert. That's very nice. It's very kind. Yeah, if you've got any questions about how to structure your data extraction coding tool within EPPI Reviewer for prime optimization in a map, then please don't hesitate to get in touch, and we'll see what we can do. Oh, we got a question from Caroline.
Oh, actually, do you know what? Actually, that is. Let me see. We don't show in the row study column header, but if you click in the row study column header, it will take you to that. And I can actually just quickly. Maybe I'll just
stop sharing.
Yeah, just very quickly I can show that. Actually, I'll go to a smaller map. That means
so. Jeff's just responding to a question that came through in the Q&A. Is it possible to show in the row header or column header the number of studies in that row or column? Otherwise, there can be, say, one study and loads of cells, but it's not clear that it's only one study.
Yeah, I mean, what you could, I mean, it doesn't, but if you actually click in the row or column heading, like if I click on the mental health, you say in psychosocial improvement, to that one there, if I click on that, it will actually pull in the studies that are available for that. So I can see there are 74 references. Is that what they were meaning? Maybe they're saying, because rather than the number itself isn't there, but you can click into it and see it right away. In that sense, if I click over here into that section there, it will come into that one.
We also, and Caroline also said that when she opens the Campbell Mega Map, she didn't get those double arrows to collapse the columns.
Well, you have to. See, if you hover, unless she has a very old version of the map, but if you just sort of, if your mouse just hovers or you click in the corner by the edge of the section there, it's not there. But if you click in there, then should collapse for you, unless by chance she has because being an HTML file, there are going to be old versions of maps out there, and people email them around to each other. There might be a newer version of the map itself, but they might have an old one. So you want to just also make sure that you can tell by the little. This one here is January version 1.2. So if it's that particular version of the map, then you'll be able to. You should have those collapsible sections.
We also had a question from Maria about whether you can add data in the About section after you've produced and published. Once you've produced your map, it is how it is. You would need to then...
well, you can, if you just want to add text to, if you want to edit what's in it, you can edit your, it's an HTML file, the whole map. So you could just open up that file. It's a text file in a sense in HTML. You just do a search for the text that's in your About section, and you'll see it there, and you'll just be able to go in. If you edit it and save it, just in a text editor, it'll change what's in the About section.
What's an example of a text editor app that you could use?
Notepad. You know, if you're just on a PC, if you open up a Notepad, something like that, simple as that. But if you you'd be able to go in and start editing the file right away.
Yeah, otherwise you would need to just use your data to create another map, and I mean it doesn't take that long, but yeah. Another question is, if we wanted to crowdsource coding for a living map, but people don't have access to EPPI Reviewer, is there a way to integrate a web form or similar with EPPI Reviewer to allow lay people or non-reviewers to contribute?
Well, I suppose if access to EPPI Reviewer is the issue, then as long as one person has access to EPPI Reviewer, others could just submit the studies to the person that's sort of accumulating and putting it together. If they're thinking about having each person code it, well, then that would be a different sort of issue. But I mean, as long as one person has access to it, others could contribute the studies to the person that's sort of accumulating them and creating the map from them. But Oh, I see. In the Caroline, she says, yes, that's what I mean, but maybe be in one column heading, say, child learning number n equals 23. I'm just seeing that the question about clicking and about seeing the thing. Okay, well, that's something. We will take all of these suggestions on board and as I say, for the next one. But okay, I think we have to stop. I think just about now because I believe it's 7:15. So anyway, thank you for anyone that's still here, and I hope you have a good day, the rest of the day.
And I will post that link to the instructional video just right now before I log off.
Oh yeah, and I see there's also applies to submit your study. Yeah, in the submit your study, it'd be great if submittable form data could be an EPPI reviewer. Okay, that's okay. That's something we'll take online, take on board.
Yeah, well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. And don't hesitate to get in touch if you've got any ideas for development or if you've got any questions.
Okay.
Otherwise, we might leave it there.
Okay, goodbye.